Good morning. Welcome to Mark and Wawi show. As of this recording, it is May 22nd, 2021, Saturday, 5:34 a.m. Um, well, we're here to talk about our journey in our investing. This is a test pilot episode. So hope you guys enjoy our podcast. So why we're here, Kuya Wawi? Let's begin with that.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mark, for inviting me to this podcast. I think this is a good thing. We could, share our ideas to our group
Mhm.
sa ating Facebook Messenger group, which is growing. Um, so a lot of people are interested. Well, I'll start with, telling our listeners a little bit about myself. So I'm a physical therapist by trade, um, but I have personal interest, and that would be more like arts and like visual arts.
Mhm.
I also like training in martial arts when I was younger.
Mhm.
So I've done different things, Filipino martial arts.
Ito ba yung tinatawag nilang yaoyan, Kuya Wawi?
Oh, interested ako sa yaoyan no nung nasa Manila ako, but I never got into
Uh-huh.
training. I think I went to the studio and looked at the guys there. Medyo intimidating kasi malalakas silang sumipa eh. Parang Muay Thai sila. But I never got into it. I got more into the, universal style karate, pero based siya sa Kyokushinkai-kan, saka Shotokan. Sensei Gahilomo ang teacher ko noon. And then I moved on to different things nung high school ako noon. And then I moved on to Taekwondo here sa Mount Pleasant with Mr. John Hoffman, and then Kenpo dito sa Winsboro, Texas kay Mr. Lawson, Sensei Lawson. Pero yung pinaka nagustuhan ko talagang training yung sa Aikido saka sa Tai Chi kasi medyo tumatanda na tayo eh. So, so maganda yung yung fluid motion,
Right.
redirection.
So parang what I think about these activities, no, depending on the discipline, parang may specific techniques silang tinuturo sa'yo at the same time. Parang you can't just, absorb it without, I'd say, parang focus, no? Sa mga ganitong approach. Or,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Ang tawag nila centering eh. So parang hanapin mo yung center ng katawan mo tapos center ng partner mo pag sa Aikido. And then in Tai Chi is more for health, so more like meditation in movement. And then so this and then recently, medyo passive investor ako eh
right.
nung una.
So let's go into that. So what kind of encouraged you to go into parang investing, Kuya Wawi?
So matagal na ako interesado sa investment.
Mm-hmm.
Ang problema is I didn't know how to do any evaluation ng companies. I didn't have that knowledge, and then intimidated ako sa format noon kasi nung araw kasi ang format is you can either use at that time I was using Bank of America.
Mm-hmm.
So you could buy bonds, stocks, mutual funds back then, but then you have to go through an intermediary.
Ito ba yung parang Kuya Wawi, may tinatawagan ka pa like for example, you wanna buy a stock, kailangan mo pang tawagan sila para lang i-push in order or put you in order?
Oo, ganun yun nung 1990s kasi dumating kami sa America 1992.
Huh?
So yeah, I talked to my banker pero never did push through. So passive investor ako.
Right.
through employment. So,
Hmm.
mga ano yun, mga retirement fund.
Ito yung sinasabi mga 401k, ganun mga. May Roth na ba nun, Kuya Wawi, o wala?
Wala pa. I can't remember when Roth started. Hindi ko matandaan, Mark, kung kailan nagsimula ang Roth. Either 2000 na siguro yan.
After na siguro nung tech, ang tawag doon? Yung tech na bumagsak dati.
Siguro.
Yung 2000s, no? Yung, siguro feeling ko sumikat yung Roth yung after show ni, ni Susie Orman.
Oh yeah, so my wife follows Susie Orman.
Oo, talaga.
And as soon as Roth became available, nag-invest kami sa Roth. Well, I did. Nag-invest ako sa Roth. So yun. Usually, ano lang eh. So pipili lang ako ng, ano ba yun, yung time dependent investment. Di ba? Yung parang kung kailan ka magre-retire, yun ang piliin mo. So been using Fidelity since I started working for Texas Health Resources because they use Fidelity. And usually pag nandun na yung financial advisor, I would just ask him, if this was your account, what would you pick?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, no? Putting them in your shoes. Kung anong saan sila mag-invest, saan lalagay yung hard-earned money.
So for me, I wanted to invest because I've always been thinking na hindi ka naman forever magtatrabaho eh,
Exactly, yeah.
So, and energy dependent din, di ba, yung pagtatrabaho.
Yeah.
As you get older, you start losing some of your physical capabilities.
Right.
And hopefully not yung mental capabilities mo to keep up with, the demand of work. So I always want to stay fit, but you have to be realistic. Eventually you'll have to retire.
Right.
So that's one reason why I invest, is for retirement. And recently, I started investing more actively.
Right.
Kasi nagbago na yung platform, right?
Yes.
So you have your technology on your cell phone. Dati, kailangan ng computer, di ba? Wala pang app.
Kailangan mag-dial. Like you said nung 90s, Kuya Wawi. You have to dial to your broker and tell them.
Yeah, you have to call them.
Yeah. So ngayon mas madali na yung access, like one step away ka lang, 1 minute away to enter an order if you want to buy a share of a company.
So what happened was, my frustration then was I didn't have a consolidated account.
So what does this consolidated account mean, Kuya Wawi, if for our listeners?
Ito kasi nangyayari, di ba? So tatrabaho ka, paiba-iba ka ng employers, right? And each employer will offer you a retirement account, right? So I don't know, maybe half a dozen employers later, you have half a dozen retirement accounts scattered
Dami.
across the board. So we have a dear friend dito sa Tyler, Texas, mga kumpare at kumari ko. They told us about Stephen Pamatmat, which became my index investing coach. So we finally got together in 2018 September, and so he did a presentation about index investing, talking about the 3 indexes, S&P 500, Nasdaq, Dow Jones, and how historically they keep going up.
These are the major indexes for our listeners, like S&P 500. These are the 500 largest companies sa US na listed for our or like the retail investors, which are the public that can invest in directly. And for yung isa, Kuya Wawi said Nasdaq, right? So,
Mhm.
so yung Nasdaq is like the top 100 companies, the largest companies that are engaged in tech or technology.
Mhm.
Ano pa yung isa, Kuya Wawi? Yung
Dow Jones
Dow.
Industrial.
So yung Dow Jones Industrial naman is like the top 30 companies regardless of what industry sila. Pero by ano siya, 'di ba, Kuya Wawi, parang by market size, like the bigger they are,
Oh, percentage.
yes, doon sila sa index na yan. Pero ang alam ko meron silang parang governing body na nag-accredit ng certain whichever stock it is. Like for example, dinrap nila yung I think yung AT&T a couple years ago in exchange for
Mhm.
Apple. So behind the
Oh,
so ito yung mga indexes na sinasabi mo, Kuya Wawi, right?
yes.
Mhm.
So he helped us consolidate those retirement accounts with that my wife and I had over the years,
Mm.
scattered in different accounts into Fidelity. Ang kagandahan ngayon, electronic na lahat eh. So e-transfer, the process was almost effortless.
Right.
Kasi lagay mo lang yung account number mo, and then you and then you transfer it to your platform, which is in our case Fidelity ang ginagamit namin.
Safe naman ito, Kuya Wawi. Di ba? So,
Yeah, safe. Nakakatakot kasi noon, di ba? Magro-roll over ka.
right.
Either papadala sa yung cheque,
Uh-huh.
tapos papadala mo. I'd done that before, and the process is not as seamless, and medyo matagal. Tumatagal ng mga ilang linggo
Uh-huh.
bago mo ma-settle eh.
So in this transition na let's say may 6 accounts ka tapos ni-roll over mo lang sa isa, it's like, did you have to reach out to a Fidelity person or a broker, or you just have to fill out like forms, or how did you manage to do it?
So like I said, Stephen helped us out,
Mm.
showed us how to do it. Most of it was done electronically.
Uh-huh.
I may have called Fidelity a couple of times
Right.
regarding a couple of employment accounts na medyo hindi ko maintindihan yung process. And then it was okay. Before you know it, me and my wife had everything in Fidelity. So
Wow.
I just formed a portfolio na legacy IRA ko na doon.
Okay.
And then my Roth IRA account was transferred into Fidelity as well.
Uh-huh.
Ang goal ko doon, i-maximize ko eh. But this year,
Right.
I was not able to do that yet. But I still have June 15 until I could put in another 7,000 into that Roth IRA.
So itong accounts na to, Kuya Wawi, just to clarify, so now you have it under one portfolio. So do you have the option to use it, like for example, buy like a specific company share, or do you still have to like invest in an whole index like the S&P 500 or Nasdaq or yung Dow Jones?
Oh, good question. So mixed bag kasi talaga yung aking portfolio.
Got it.
So
Okay.
so when I entered into the market, the indexes were falling.
Uh-huh.
So I was
This
like,
is
oh
back
gosh,
in 2018, Kuya Wawi, is that right?
yeah. So in 2018, I was still somewhat, leery about the market. So
Right.
I had like in my account 22 grand. So I didn't want to put everything in there yet. I was like, okay, let me test this thing out. And well, during the first quarter of 2019, I saw things were going down on the index. And I said, oh my gosh, this is a lot of money being lost.
Mm.
So I looked at things, and I looked at some of the rules, right? So found out na ito palang IRA and Roth IRA, you can actually buy specific shares of stocks.
Talaga. Okay, so you don't stick with the index. Like you can buy a specific stock, like you said, like yung, for example, let's say Apple or ganun, you can buy it directly.
Yes, so that's what I did on my legacy IRA. I have Tesla. So I think last year, maybe early last year, I put in about 15 grand on Tesla on my legacy IRA.
Laki ng exposure.
Which paid off really well.
Yeah.
And
I think that was when you were asking me about it, and I said, "Oh, babagsak yan, may zero, ang daming utang."
Oh yeah, the debt was heavy. But it's been around long enough, and it's been reaching its target.
Right.
So medyo naka-price in kasi yung kanyang future prospects eh. And what gave me parang confidence na subukan ang Tesla kasi wala siyang competitor eh.
Right. During this time, 2018, right?
Well, I did, kailan ba yun? Siguro noong 2018 yun, nasa Pilipinas kami, nag-uusap kami ng anak ko. Yun. Yeah, initially invested in it and then it dropped. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm gonna lose my money. So I bailed out. And then before you knew it, it went up again. So I went back in, bought it again, and never left it again since.
Right. Yun yung sinasabi nila, you know, parang as long as you believe in the company and its management. I mean, when nothing has changed but the price, it's better to just hold on to it, no? Kuya Wawi, it's like my famous saying so Wall Street is like time in the market is beats timing the market. Parang mahirap timing the market eh. Parang as long as you believe in it, like mas maganda pa nga ata minsan mag-average down. So for our listeners, medyo technical yung sinasabi namin ni Kuya Wawi. Well, this is just a pilot episode, but in the coming episodes, we'll be discussing specifically yung terms na ginagamit namin for investing. Sabi nga ni Robert Kiyosaki, I don't know if you've read that before, Kuya Wawi, yung sabi niya, if you wanna get rich or at least be rich in the future, you have to learn yung language ng ginagamit nila. Like for example, investing, ganun. So you have to have an open mind.
Yeah, and you have to be comfortable with the language. You have to define the language and be comfortable with the language. Kasi pag hindi mo naintindihan, baka mali ang connotation.
Yun. Mali pa yung interpretation, tapos mali yung application, lagot tayo dyan. So, yeah, jumping on to my part, I guess. So, parehas kay Kuya Wawi, I'm an OFW as well before, well, currently still is for sure. Kasi I just got my green card last year, nung January.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So, pero ayun. So for me, I've been investing in the stock market since 2014. So by practice, I'm also a physical therapist. Finished my bachelor's degree sa UST in 2010. Nag-take ako ng NPTE, state board, which is the state board exams here in the US in 2013. So I got hired. Started working here in Texas in March the following year, 2014. And at the same time, nag-start ako mag-work on my DPT na nakuha ko naman 2.5 years later, 2016. And then, ayun, like Kuya Wawi, I spent most of my time outside work learning more about finance and investing.
Di ba may finance degree ka?
Yes. For the degree, well, hindi siya actually degree, Kuya Wawi. I took a online course from
Mm-hmm.
New York Institute of Finance back in 2016. It was like a 2-semester course
Mm-hmm.
for around $2,000, I think, which I think is
What?
worth it naman kahit paano. Kasi it kind of opened my eyes in sa corporate finance, which is actually the topic yung na kinuha ko. A little bit of intro to it is like mga tinuro nila how mergers and acquisitions work, anong klaseng company yung trying to dive into that, situation, if it's a distress or, suitable company to invest in. So it's kind
Nung
of fun.
time, excuse me, Mark, nung time ba na yon pinag-uusapan na yung SPAC?
Yeah. Hindi ba?
Ay, hindi pa.
Yes.
Wala pa nun.
So what is SPAC, Kuya Owie, if you don't mind sharing to our listeners?
Well, wala rin ako lang dyan. Special Acquisition Corporation. So they're just, parang, they're looking for like a partner, right? So meron silang, mag-open sila ng SPAC. Just tell me if I'm wrong, right?
Sure.
Mag-open sila ng SPAC and then they're just gonna wait for, for a unicorn, a partner. So that's my layman's knowledge on that SPAC thing.
So in my understanding naman, yung SPAC, they're like already listed, no, Kuya Wawi? They're publicly listed company pero wala pa silang business. Tapos mayroong, let's say, a private company, fledgling company or startup na gusto mag-public, ma-access yung stock market, magpa-partner sila. Tama ba?
Yeah. Which is what we're seeing dun sa mga company ni Chamat, di ba?
Chamat.
Ni Chamat Palitpaya, di ba?
Right.
Very famous SPACer.
Yeah, so Chamat is like a hedge fund manager that specializes in this special acquisition type of vehicles. So, what do you think should our listeners get, like, understand from investing directly in the stock market rather than just going sideways and letting their 401k or Roth IRA grow in the long term? Why do you think they should be, like, at least be aware of their option they can buy directly in the companies they invest in?
Well, sa akin kasi personal experience eh.
Right.
So it's been a powerful experience for me. So the first year survival ka eh, kasi bumababa yung index. So natural intuition is to look at other companies that are growing or maybe value. So sa ating mga listeners, like what we've been discussing in our group,
right,
buy what you know, right? So good example is, karamihan naman siguro ng members natin may asawa, di ba? Usually yung mga asawa natin maraming alam eh, kasi katulad asawa ko, gusto niya Wayfair, right? Sabi niya, this was in 2018, sabi niya magandang Wayfair. Because she's looking at furnitures and stuff for the house. And then she likes Walmart.
Yes.
And ano pa ba? Well, ako, mahilig ako sa Ross kasi bargain shopper ako. So, in 2018, I bought, let's see, Wayfair. And I think I bought Walmart. And then Wayfair was like still fledgling at that time, so I sold it. Big mistake, because now it's like threefold.
Well, I'm looking at Wayfair ngayon as a $310.65 a share siya.
Yeah, so I think in 2018 it was maybe in the 100 or 75. I can't remember, but I know it grew about threefold since. So with your family members, they would have ideas of companies that they like. Kasi they either shop with that company or they know somebody that's working for that company.
Mhm.
Like in my case, my mother-in-law works for Walmart, and a lot
Right.
of these young ones in my family had worked with Walmart.
Mhm.
So
So
they
I'm
have an
looking at
idea how
right.
the company works.
I'm looking at Walmart's naman nung 2018 nasa 98 a share siya. Ngayon nasa $141. So that's like 44%
Mhm.
increase. So if you invested $1,000, let's say sa Walmart back in 2018, now nag-increase siya ng 42%. That's how much? 100 $1,400 at this point of time. And so Wayfair naman, Kuya Wawi, if you invested in 2018, January, and you've held on to it until now, your $1,000 would be at least times 300%, $3,000.
Yes. Yeah. So that's my biggest mistake. But we all learn from our mistakes,
Right,
right?
definitely.
So I kept Walmart. I
Mm.
have maybe close to 200 shares of Walmart still left,
Wow.
but I have zero Wayfair, which is big
but
mistake.
but I think in hindsight, yung nga sabi nila, no, Kuya Wawi, pagka investor ka talaga, minsan hindi mo makontrol yung emotions mo. Well, you have to get around it. Pero
Mhm.
one thing that you can always tell yourself if you feel like missing out, yung sinasabi nga nila, FOMO.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I've been guilty. Guilty ako dyan.
Yun nga eh. So, hindsight is always 2020. So, parang you can see clearly what just happened, like, or what had happened before. So, yung guiltiness, yung mga ganun na sensation, you'll feel it later on once after the fact. Pero during the event na may nangyayari or bumabagsak yung market, tumataas yung market, it's easy to get carried away. Pero
Mhm.
as we go back, yung price difference, no, up and down talaga yung market. Pero akin lang, why invest directly in the stock market? For me, it's like, would you rather risk it at this point of time instead of like risk losing or at least gaining? Because over the long term, yung stock market nag-generate ng positive eh. Like on average, I saw a study like since 1980s to present na average annual return ng mga stock market is about 6 to 7% annually, including the down periods. Pero yung,
Wow.
let's say, if you have invested or did not invest, you just stick to your Roth or ano, 401k, ganun. Thus, you kept most of your money in savings, like annually,
Mhm.
it wouldn't generate you even a percent nowadays, no, Kuya Wawi? Tama ba?
Yeah, oo. Medyo mabagal yung trajectory ng earnings pag
Right.
passive investor ka. But again, you gotta know the business you're investing in. And
Right.
again, I'm using the word investing because
Mhm.
you are parang stakeholder ka ng company.
Right.
So there's a difference between investing and trading, which
Ah,
I am guilty of too. I've been, nag-swing trade din ako nung first year ko.
so
Try
swing trade, Kuya Wawi, for our listeners, what is this swing trade or trading in general? Just to give
So yun yung bibili ka ng stock tapos after a week ibebenta mo or maybe after a few days ibebenta mo kasi kumita na eh.
right.
The problem with that is you get tax on your earnings.
Isa pa
So
yun. Yes. Uh-huh.
short-term capital gain. So ang
Right.
taxation diyan is yung bracket mo, yung tax bracket mo. So parang income mo na yun. So you may earn something, but it may not be enough to cover your tax obligation.
Got it. Okay. So, so in summary, like for example, capital gains tax, that's equivalent to your personal tax rate, no, Kuya Wawi? Is that
Mm-hmm.
right? So,
Yeah, pag short term.
what Kuya Wawi is saying for our listeners is like, if you bought a stock and you you sold it within a week, or at least dapat within 52 weeks, no, Kuya Wawi, like 1 year. If you kept it for less than a year and then you sold your position, whatever your gains are will be taxed at your personal rate. Like let's say for singles, that will be around 30%. But Kuya Wawi, correct me if I'm wrong, if you hold on to your stock more than 52 weeks, tapos hold mo lang siya siguro after 2-3 years, tapos nag-gain ka, tapos you have to use the money for some emergency purpose, you will be taxed at a lower rate, right?
Yeah, parang 10 or 15%.
Okay.
So mababa.
So I guess yung one of the reasons why most investors like long term ang sinasabi nga no, long
Long-term
term more than
capital gains.
Yes. So if you want to take advantage of the tax system and at the same time you want to be like exposed to the upside, or ibig sabihin nun is going up yung stock price over the long term, mas maganda you hold on to a stock like more than a year at least.
And not just for emergency.
Right.
Kasi yung naka-attract sa akin nung hindi pa ako nag-i-invest kasi nga kinukwento ng kumari ko. Kasi nag-i-invest siya sa index eh. Kinukwento ng kumari ko, alam mo ba, ayan no, inihintay lang namin mag 1 year, 1 day, tapos ibebenta na namin. Tapos yung interest, yung kinita, yun yung gagamitin namin para magbakasyon, right?
Right. Oh, vacation funds. Yes.
So they travel. So you can't beat it, kasi basically S&P 500 kung kumita yan ng what? 14% 1 year.
Right.
You basically have free airline ticket to go back to the Philippines, right?
Right. Well, yun yung natin, makabakasyon sa Pinas every now and then at least. Have that time.
So you have that fund which you can't earn by keeping your money in the bank.
Right.
So both for emergency and for leisure and for personal use, you can take advantage of your long-term realized capital gains.
While at the same time preparing for retirement at least.
Yes, yeah. Which brings us to, how do you design your investment portfolio? So sa akin, ang nangyari, dalawa yung aking retirement na active I control it myself, yung aking IRA tsaka yung Roth IRA ko. And then my wife and I decided to form 2 brokerage accounts.
Right.
Yeah, one was mainly when I decided to stick with my conviction with Tesla. I told my wife, okay, this is what I'm seeing. I think Tesla is just going to grow. So I know I pulled back, but I want to reinvest. And she said, okay, well, if you think it's gonna work, then yeah, let's go do it. So I did a brokerage account and I put 25 grand in it, invested in Tesla. That was, oh my gosh, can't remember, maybe late 2000, no, early 2019 siguro, Mark.
Right.
Pero after that, may natira pang konti. So binili ko naman ng NIO. And NIO at that time was growing, but now it's going down.
Right.
So that brokerage account grew into like 6. I think I have 6 stocks in it now. And so that 25 grand, quintupled in 1 year. So laki ng growth niya.
Yung mga hedge funds, Kuya Wawi, tinalo mo yung mga hedge funds.
Dahil sa Tesla, di ba? Dahil sa Tesla. So nag 500-fold kasi ang Tesla at one time.
Right. For our listeners, me and Kuya Wawi would just like to say, and disclosure namin is, this is not an investing advice. If you're interested in buying stocks by yourselves, don't worry. Ito yung pilot episode namin ni Kuya Wawi. So later on, we'll be discussing probably yung terms like what we discussed earlier para medyo mas clear. Tapos yung mga specific companies na rin, kung ano yung mga interested na or mga trending ba ng mga companies at this point of time na pwede natin review yung financials nila. We'll go into a deeper dive, sabi nga nila, para makita natin yung numbers, i-balance out natin yung risk. Pero as physical therapists in practice, we can't really tell you what to do with your money. Ang sa amin,
Exactly.
yung sa amin lang ni Kuya Wawi, why we started this podcast in the first place is we both have the passion to share whatever we're going through or with what we've experienced in the investing in our investing journey. So I think Kuya Wawi, what do you think? Now we passed our 30-minute mark. Should we end it here or
Yeah.
we'll just continue next week?
Yeah, we'll continue next week, and I like the idea of deep diving.
Okay.
Kasi ang daming trending eh.
Exactly.
Daming trending.
Yes.
And it's good to share it, so we would like to hear feedbacks
Right.
para kasi hindi lang naman tayo ang nag-deep dive eh. Palagay ko marami rin dyan.
Exactly, yes.
So it's good.
Yun iba, nangangapa pa yan, panigurado, parang tayo, no? Kuya Wawi, ang hirap kasi if you're working on your own and wala kang ma-engage na ibang tao na also like share the same interest with you, like dealing with investment or hard-earned money.
Yeah, it's powerful when we share our knowledge kasi the more we know how the market works and how each individual investment is valued, nag-increase yung confidence mo, and that will decrease yung mga FOMO, yung mga in and out sa market, yung mga hesitation. Kasi ngayon maraming FUD eh. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt sa market.
FUD, nakikita ko na yun eh, FUD. Hindi ko gets yung meaning eh. Ano ulit?
Oo, marami niyan. Kasi nga hindi naintindihan pa ng iba kung ano yung valuation ng company, sino ang leader, how much the market is supporting that company. So pag hindi mo talaga alam, wag ka munang pumasok. Tingnan mo muna.
Yes. You have to gauge yourself. Pero Kuya Wawi, paano ba? I-leave natin muna yung contact information natin or we'll just post it pagka sa information ng podcast na ito down below. Sabi nga nila.
Yeah, I think we would like to let them know na meron tayong messenger group.
Right, okay.
For those interested.
Yes, you can join us. Just send us an email dito sa information that we'll post in the podcast below. And before we end, Kuya Wawi, do you have any things to say, to share?
Meron ako. Kasi nagbabasa ako ng libro eh. Your Total Wealth. Your Total Wealth ni Lyle Sussman saka ni David Dubofsky. Share ko lang yung kanilang sinabi about the resilience, okay? So this is coming from Brené Brown. Joy collected over time fuels resilience, ensuring we'll have reservoirs of emotional strength when hard things do happen. So, collect ka talaga ng happy memories kahit bumabagsak yung market.
Enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride, enjoy life.
Right. Well, thank you, Kuya Wawi, for sharing your ideas, your thoughts about the market and your experience, personal life experience. Hopefully in the future we can hear from our listeners kung anong topic gusto pag-usapan in the field of investing. Kasi nga, during our workday, we're always engaging with our patients, trying to do our best, get them up on their feet, having them walk. Pero paano naman tayo na, we work hard for that money. And then we also want that money to work hard for us para in the future, kung tayo naman may kailangan, meron tayong, makukuha from our retirement and help our living standards at that time. For the meantime, thank you so much, guys, for listening. Hope you guys listen to our future episodes. We appreciate your time. For now, we're signing out.
Signing out. Thank you, everyone.